Hey, John.
Hey, Eric. It's Wednesday night.
Every week.
There is a Wednesday night every week. This is true. How are you tonight?
I didn't expect that question to take me by surprise, yet somehow it did.
Oh, that's okay. The dramatic pause will be eradicated by edit.
Yeah. No, I went to the dentist today.
Oh. Okay.
And it's never fun to end your day on a trip to the dentist. And I'm sad to say I have a cavity.
Well,
and it's one of those where she's like, well, this has been on our watch list for, checks her records, 5 years, and it looks like we probably ought to take care of it. I'm like, all right, whatever. I brushed my teeth, honest.
No, I honestly, I had a cavity filled maybe a month ago. So join the club. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. It's my Christmas present to myself.
A cavity? Or a cavity filled?
Yes.
All right.
I can't decide if I like that better than I had to tear apart the kids' tub shower. So it's a tub with tile and then a door, like a shower door. So it's a tub with a shower on it.
Okay.
Or a shower kind of. I had to pull apart the doors and take all the track for the doors completely off, clean all the silicone caulk off them as best I could, because that was the cause. I don't know if I remember mentioning it on the podcast, but I had a leak in the kids' bathroom and I had to do some drywall repair. So I did some drywall repair, but before I painted it, I let it sit for a week to see is it still getting wet? And sure enough, it was still getting wet, even after I had, done what repairs I thought I did. So I ended up tearing everything apart, redoing all the caulking and silicone and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I did that yesterday. And tonight the kids are going to go take a shower. So after the podcast, I got to go check and see, is my drywall, which is still not painted, it's still just spackling and a patch job, is it still wet? And if so,
uh-oh. What's the next step?
What do I do next? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got my fingers crossed that's it. That has to be it. If that's not it, then I'm just going to spray that area with mildew resistant stuff for the next, once a week for the rest of my life.
That is not a solution. That is a Band-Aid, perhaps. I don't know. That's funny. Yeah, more Glade plugins.
Yeah,
not what you want. Not what you want. Oh, well, that sounds like an exciting weekend. Not.
No.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's fixed, and that's like one more thing. It's just the things that have piled up, mostly because I'm now home a lot more than I used to.
Okay.
For example, I discovered that my office, the room I'm using for my office, the windows were dirty. And I thought, well, I'll just go clean them because I sit and stare out this window all day. I have the window open. And I found out that it's not dirty on the outside or the inside. It's dirty between the panes.
Oh.
So the seal has failed somewhere. So I called the guy to come out, and that's all he does. He just repairs those windows. And I said, well, while you're here, why don't you look at all the rest of my windows and see if there's anything else I need to just take care of as well. And of course, we found 4 other windows. I knew for sure of another one, like our front door has one. So
I didn't even know they could repair those windows. So he takes apart the double pane?
So the repair basically is they replace the entire glass, the double pane and everything. So they just take the old one out.
So they don't have to do any of the framing around. It's literally just the...
No.
Oh, okay.
They literally just take the glass out, put new glass in, already sealed, everything. It's just one piece apparently. And so they take it out, put a new one in, done.
Interesting.
So
that's handy. I didn't know that was possible.
I had no clue until this guy did. And then he sent me the bid today. I'm like, oh, there's another. It's just never ending. That's a reason why the house is called a money pit. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, I've actually got, now that I got my roof replaced, we're on to the next thing too, which is getting, well, we were going to get carpet replaced because there's, we've had this carpet that we've wanted to replace for years on the stairwell. And we figured, well, let's just do the bedrooms too, bedrooms and hall. And then we realized, we would rather just have like, well, I guess you'd call it laminate flooring instead, instead of carpet. And so right. I've got a bid. Actually I got a first bid and then my wife and I were chatting and we were like, well, it's just going to have to end right there at the entryway and we'll have to try and match with it. Like, it's going to be a little weird, but I guess we can kind of make a choice. And then we didn't even, we both kind of looked at each other and we're like, why don't we just also do the entryway and the dining room? Cause it won't be that quote unquote that much more. And then it'll all match and it'll look great. And we were like, So the guy came out actually to measure today. So I don't know what that bid plus is going to be, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
There's nothing like living in a house like solid for 9 months to go, this is kind of driving me crazy.
Yeah. I'm finding all the things.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we have, this is bad, but like 4 years ago, my dog got into I guess the equivalent of a Sharpie, but like a permanent marker in our bedroom on carpet, like relatively light carpet, and got black, right. Dark black all over, at least in a few places. And, and we had, carpet cleaner come out to try and clean it. And he's like, yeah, you're not getting that up. I'm sorry. I'm like, well, how do you do it? And he's like, well, you patch. I'm like, well, how do you patch? He's like, well, you cut a square out and you put a square in. I'm like, and that matches? And he's like, yeah, I could do that. I'm like, okay. He's like, well, if you have a spare piece of carpet. And I was like, well, there was a small square of carpet in, I don't know, one of the closet, the hall closet. And so he chopped out, little 6-inch by 6-inch squares, but he had to do like 4 of them, I think. and they have not held up over the time. So they're it's very obvious where they are. And so, it's terrible. We really need to replace our carpet is what it is. But which anyway, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it's always something. It's always something.
Yeah. It's always something.
And yeah.
Well, I am looking forward to this upcoming weekend because, looking forward to it and not looking forward to it. Looking forward to it because I am going to be heading out to pick up oldest daughter from college and bring her home for the Christmas holiday. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. Not looking forward to the 12-hour each way drive in the snow.
Oh, snow.
It's supposed to snow. So I went and got chains for my...
Do you drive the truck?
Yep. I'll drive the truck because we got to haul stuff back.
I guess that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Wow.
And it doesn't get that much worse gas mileage than the minivan. So
I wasn't thinking snow. I was thinking, you have a nice long stretch for an audiobook or podcast, but yeah.
Oh, so. I'm loading up the podcast. Yeah. There will be podcasts.
There will be podcasts. Oh, that's funny. That's good. Well, be careful in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, don't take any chances. Don't take any chances.
So I think we'll just kind of go in, get her picked up, clean her apartment, do the cleaning check, and then head back. We'll see.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we have Grandma and Grandpa's house we can stay at, or aunt, a sister-in-law, or we have places we could stay with humans who are also cautious about the COVID. So,
oof.
We'll see.
I don't know. Be careful. That's what I say. Be careful. We're almost out. Like if people can just kind of be patient and be good for another 3 months, it's going to be good. It's going to be better.
Yeah.
But these next 3 months are going to be, pretty rough, I think.
Yeah, and I think especially right after Christmas, because you saw the spike after Thanksgiving.
We haven't even seen the Thanksgiving spike yet, have we?
Anyways, welcome to Mostly Depressing, the podcast.
Mostly depressing.
I think everything I've talked about, except for the being able to see daughter number 1, has been on the downer side.
Funny. Well,
I need something fun.
You know what's exciting is watching Cold War movies. And by that I mean no. But that was just one of the things we did this weekend, is because my son, they were doing Cold War in his history class. And and so he had a list of movies that he could watch. And the reason why I'm actually saying this is because I thought it was pretty funny. One of the movies that my wife and I were like, "Ooh, we should watch that," because we haven't seen it since the early 90s, maybe 80s, is Red Dawn.
Right.
And
I was going to ask if it was the original or the new one.
They did a remake? I don't know. No, It was the original. It was the original. Okay. Kevin Bacon and oh, come on. He was the planet, the god in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Kurt Russell.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's probably his least favorite role ever. The one that anyway. But the reason why that was funny. So we watched Red Dawn and we watched Bridge of Spies. So 2 wildly different movies, because Bridge of Spies is a more recent one with Tom Hanks. That was a really good movie. Red Dawn did not age well. Let me just say that. But the funny thing that I say, like most things in the 80s, media in the 80s, I don't think it aged very well. Yeah. Not at all. But the funny thing for me was, so I'm using the Apple TV remote and I'm saying, show me the movie Red Dawn, or show me Red Dawn, or show me, and I couldn't, every time I tried it, it would say, and if I spoke slowly, it would be red, R-E-D. I'm like, yes, you got that. And then I would say dawn, and it would come up D-O-N, and then change the red from R-E-D to R-E-A-D, as in, do you read Dawn, or have you read Dawn? R-E-A-D, Dawn.
Is there a movie called Red Dawn?
There is not a movie called Red Dawn. At least not R-E-A-D-D-O-N, which was what was driving me crazy. I was like, why would you, okay, so they're, what's that called? Like a homonym, right? So check homonyms if there's no matches. Maybe if there is a match, okay, I get it. You're auto-correcting to something that's good. But now you're auto-correcting to something that's awful. And maybe it's pronunciation. Maybe you're supposed to say, but I tried to say Dawn, down, Dawn. Could not get it to recognize me, which I just thought, these the voices, audio, it's nice when it works. Every once in a while, from the dinner table, we'll yell out, yo, dingus, what it, blah, blah, blah. And, it comes up with the answer and it's like you're living in the future. But then you have this and you were like, this is not smart. So anyway, I thought that was funny. Yeah,
mentioning Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess one random side tangent. Daughter number 2, who is my musical theater girl, has never been interested in the Marvel movies.
Okay.
Not really a superhero movie watching kind of kid. The pandemic has apparently converted her, because she watched, my wife loves them. She'll just put them on and watch them.
They're awesome.
And she got hooked on one, and so she watches Endgame. So she watched the end.
Oh, no.
And then and she was like, this is so cool. Can I watch, what are the other ones I should watch? And we're like, watch them all in order. So now we went back and she's been watching them. And when I've been free, I've been watching them with her. And we watched Guardians of the Galaxy. We're up to Guardians of the Galaxy 1 last night.
Okay.
So last night I watched that with her.
And she's like, what is this? This is completely different.
But she's loving it because she already she's like, well, now that character was there. I'm like, yeah, well, this is the scene that you saw in that movie where they go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the original scene that you would have seen first before,
Yeah.
And she's like, and Red Skull, that guy, this is how he becomes Red Skull, right? And so you're kind of going through and she's having a good time. Yeah. And it's kind of fun.
That's good.
She's a little hooked on them, so.
That's good.
Fun with family.
I can't wait and this is, I'm sorry I'm crossing the streams here, but I can't wait for the Wonder Woman 84 to come out. So
Christmas Day, that's going to be our Christmas movie for sure. Sit down in the basement. It's going direct to
video, right?
It's going direct to HBO Max. So you have to have subscribed to, I believe you have to be a subscriber to HBO Max. HBO is trying to use the movies to juice their subscription, kind of like how Disney did with Mulan for the Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I would double check that. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
And there's going to be more movies like that.
Okay. No,
their entire 2021 slate, Warner Brothers is releasing on HBO Max and in theaters at the same time for the places that theaters are open.
Okay. Well, it'll be good. That'll be awesome.
Yeah. I think it'll be fun.
That'll be awesome. All right. That was a long intro segment. Sorry. I threw a couple of things in follow-up here. So sorry, I'm gonna run through a few of them. Cause there was, one of my something funs last week that was not fun, was the Arecibo collapse. And, what came out, like, I think the next day, at least I hadn't seen it the night we recorded, was that there was actually some drone footage of the collapse.
Yeah.
And so, here's a link to the drone footage, which is, it's astounding that they actually had it running at the time and they were able to capture a good amount of the actual collapse. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I saw a Catalan article today on ZDNet that the Adobe released their last update ever for Flash today. So the main thing it does is it brings a actual known date to when Flash will no longer work, which is January 12th. And, but even if you try to avoid installing this latest update, the quote unquote time bomb has been in there for months. So that will not help you. It's just, they just changed some wording, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Software never dies.
I related to that, but I don't have a link here. It will
live on somewhere.
Well, that was the thing, is that there's a lot of work that's gone into trying to archive Flash games for kind of historical purposes, in kind of the Wayback Machine or the Internet Archive.
Right.
So anyway, that's kind of funny. All right. And my third follow-up, this is kind of follow-up-y, but it's just something that I'm watching with bated breath, is what's the next? So there's rumors about the next Apple M something chip.
The M2.
M2. Is that actually what it was? I don't think I had that in here. You're just saying.
No, it still says M1.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say M1X, M2.
Making a guess.
MN plus something. So now the rumors are, so what are they going to put in their iMac? What are they going to put in their Mac Pro MacBook Pros? And then what are they going to put in their Mac Pros? Because given the crazy low power for performance, can you imagine how much would they be able to fit into a 100-watt package, which is basically about what, a top-end Intel CPU puts out. But we'll see. So the rumors on this article are the two that I think are exciting to think about are the chip design with as many as 32 high-performance cores. So that would be awesome for a desktop. And for later in 2021 or potentially 2022, so this is like far out rumors, pricier graphics upgrades that have 64 or 128 dedicated graphics cores.
Why not?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, why not?
It's going to be an interesting next 3 years, I'll say, for the Mac hardware, because we haven't seen dramatic year-on-year upgrades for years at this point.
Right.
And I think they're gonna be here for a little bit.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
And it's gonna be interesting to see what happens to the overall market.
I'm excited.
More
power is always good for me.
Good competition. I'll be interested to see what happens. So anyway, those are my 3 follow-up-y things, just to kind of hit kind of quick up top here.
All right.
How about a topic? What'd you bring?
My topic this week, as I was poking around at things, is yet another ransomware attack, and this one is a ransomware attack that went after Vancouver, Canada's Public Transportation Agency. So, if you're a public transportation agency and you're a little bit more advanced than others, people are using their phones or little cards to tap and beep and pay for tickets, etc. Well, apparently they took those systems offline and left a ransom note. There was lots of, initially they came out and didn't, said, hey, there's just a technical issue. And then, of course, the news got wind of what it actually was, and they had to come clean and say, all right, yeah, it was a ransomware attack on some of our IT infrastructure, but they got it taken care of and they're back up and running. What was interesting, I'm sure this is commonplace, but I hadn't seen this before, is the attackers actually printed the ransom note, didn't send him an email with a ransom note, started printing it on all the agency's printers. So the printers started spewing the ransom note.
Oh my gosh.
One of the local reporters there got a hold of it, and there's a tweet. We can link it's in the article. You can see in the article what the ransom note says. Basically, it's, hey, we have your stuff, pay us or we're going to release it publicly. Here's how to give us Bitcoin, kind of thing. Here's how to pay us. And apparently it turns out, and this is a strain of ransomware I don't think I've heard of, or it's not one of the more popular ones I've heard of, is egregor. Egregor ransomware as a service. Yeah,
I've definitely seen it before. Seems like it's and maybe it's one of a newer one. Sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm looking at this ransom note. The if you have hundreds of millions of unwanted dollars, there's nothing to fear, for that is the exact amount of money you will spend for recovery and payouts.
Right. The other thing I thought was interesting here is it came out that there was also this same ransomware group hit a retail store chain in Argentina and Chile and did the same thing, had the printers, but the printers that print out your your receipts,
the thermal
receipts.
Yeah, thermal printers.
Yes, started spewing the ransom note for all employees and customers to view.
Oh my.
So not a good thing.
Yeah.
But apparently they've taken care of everything. You can resume using your tap to pay feature, and you're all good to go up there in Vancouver. So
wow. No, that's an interesting.
It's everywhere. One. Goes after everything.
Yeah. All right. So I brought two things. Well, I was only really planning on the one, but then what happened yesterday? I think we can't. I don't think we could not say something about it, which is that a security company, FireEye, had some tools, some red team and forensic tools, stolen by a state actor. So, the first thing I would want to say, like right at the top of the thing, is that this isn't like casting stones at FireEye, because breaches occur all the time, everywhere. And it's more about how you handle it and how you respond than that a breach happened. So that's I think the thing that I would want to say is kind of right up front. And then and they're handling it really, really well. And I know quite a few people that work over at FireEye. So I'm certainly sympathetic to what they've probably been going through for the last bit of time. But I'm going to read a couple quotes from this article. The article we'll link here is actually the article that they published, and along with the countermeasures, because that's the big thing that they're doing is not only are they being forthright about what happened, but they've also released signatures and intelligent data, threat intelligence about the tools in question, so that and they've built protection for their customers, but they've released the data so that other security companies can release updates, content to protect their customers too. So they seem to be handling it very, very well. But so here's just a couple quotes from the article. I don't think we could have a security podcast and not talk about kind of the biggest story of the day. Anyway, so quote, a highly sophisticated state-sponsored adversary. Now that's what they say. They did not claim Russia in here. The New York Times article did, just FYI.
Right.
So a highly sophisticated state-sponsored adversary stole FireEye red team tools. Because we believe that an adversary possesses these tools, and we do not know whether the attacker intends to use the stolen tools themselves or publicly disclose them, FireEye is releasing hundreds of countermeasures with this blog post to enable the broader security community to protect themselves against these tools. We have incorporated the countermeasures into our FireEye products and shared these countermeasures with partners, government agencies, to significantly limit the ability of the bad actor to exploit the red team tools. The tools range from simple scripts for automating reconnaissance to entire frameworks similar to publicly available technologies such as Cobalt Strike and Metasploit. So that's the gist. And the hundreds of indicators is right. And they've published a GitHub. Basically they published a GitHub site that has everything posted to it. So, and then the final interesting thing is that they also included a list of CVEs to be addressed. So if you, if you're at a place that or if you have any ability to control what things get patched, that would be a nice list of CVEs to maybe prioritize patching.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So anyway, that was the first thing, and it's that's a big deal, and I'm sorry for my friends at FireEye. Good luck, folks. All right, the other article, the article that really caught my eye this week that I thought would be my main topic was actually a kind of a steganographic one, another mage cart thing, right? So this is a web skimmer, but these are, or the twist here is they're hiding their code inside SVG images, so scalable vector graphics, specifically for social media sharing icons. So,
because those are on every page everywhere.
They're on every page. Yep. And so it's been a lot. I feel like we've talked about steganography before, but I should maybe say up front, steganography is hiding one thing inside another. So, it's kind of, you can think of it in like the old Roman messages of, hiding, the first letter of every other word, forms a message or something like that. But, in modern times, steganography is, for example, you can hide data or code, but data inside an image, right? So like, for example, if you take the least significant bit of every color in a graphic, an image, a bitmap, think of it as a bitmap, you can, you can exfiltrate, or you can store inside an image a lot of data without actually changing the human perception of that image. And so, that's a way of exfiltrating data. It's a way of, passing command and control messages. We've seen that in many times over the time. But for example, you could pass messages by updating your avatar on, you used to be able to do this on Twitter or on forums. And, so the message isn't in a message on a forum. It's actually in the user's avatar. And, whoever the message is for knows to download the image and, decode it from inside there. So this new version or new instantiation of MageCart is actually hiding code, the actual malicious code inside a SVG of essentially a Twitter like button. But so they're basically doing it as SVG is a way of instructing the computer how to draw something with paths, with vectors, as opposed to with bitmaps. And so the nice thing about that is that's why they're called scalable vector graphics, right? They're vectors, meaning lines with a direction. And, since they just say, hey, draw a line from this point to this point with this weight, or draw a curve from this point to this point with this weight, with this color, with this other thing, fill this circle, you can scale them perfectly up and down, and they don't lose any resolution, right? So you don't get rasterization if you were to zoom really far in on a bitmap or something like that, which is why they're called scalable vector graphics. But by its nature, then, there's essentially code inside there. But anyway, so the thing is, it's encoded as perfectly valid path inside the image. So if you were doing syntax checking, you wouldn't detect that. That's an invalid image. It's a perfectly valid image. It's just that the way that path is encoded, it is. If you decode it properly, then it's actually malicious code. And so, I actually should probably read some of the quotes here, but essentially what they're doing is the payload is being delivered in these files, but then the decode logic is delivered separately. And it's kind of like I don't know. You can think of it like an epoxy, right? Where you've got you've got the two things, and they're independently they're both fine, but bring them together, and then you've got something bad.
It's the two keys you have to turn to enable the red button, the big red button.
Exactly. I'm sure there's lots of metaphors there. So let's see what it actually said. So the source code of the skimmer script to steal customers' credit cards is concealed inside a social sharing icon loaded as an HTML SVG element with a path element as a container. And then a separate decoder is deployed separately somewhere on the e-commerce site server to extract and execute the code of the hidden credit card stealer. So that's that. Anyway, that was kind of my most intriguing article I think I read this week.
I had not seen this one. I was kind of quiet because I was reading through while you were talking and listening.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, more Mage Cart.
There you go. On to something fun?
Yep. All right. What'd you bring me fun tonight?
So, did you see this article on how I made a self-quoting tweet?
When you put the notes in here, I went and read it because it was not something to read on the spot.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. So the whole point, so it kind of goes through and it's very detailed in what he did and how he did. But the idea was he created an account called Quine Tweet, and a Quine is a computer program which takes no input and produces a copy of its own source code as its only output. So, because why not? He thought, well, how could I create a Quine tweet that would basically quote tweet itself? Quote tweet and retweet itself. Can I get into some loop, right? So he went through to try to figure it out, and he had to figure out because tweets have an ID, and I didn't know what the ID was made up, but he talks about what the ID is made up. It's a timestamp, which of course makes sense, plus some other bits of information. And so he goes through the whole process of here's how he discovered, because to make the Quine tweet, he had to get the ID of the tweet to be the same ID of the tweet that it has to replicate the previous one exactly. And IDs are meant not to, be the same one. They're unique, or should be in theory. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff in here, how he started, what he tried to, this, that, and the other, which I thought
this is so cool.
It gets down to the end and has solved it, figured out how to make the quote tweet itself, and dump, basically it's now an infinite loop. And my favorite part, so just go read the whole thing. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you should totally read it. I read the whole thing here. It's awesome.
Yeah. And then my favorite part is the last line, which is, and for anyone at Twitter who was depending on the network of tweets as being a directed acyclic graph, I'm so terribly sorry.
It is no longer acyclic.
Poke. Anyways, I thought it was fun. That was just
awesome.
Something fun. It was kind of cool, the whole process. So there you go. That was my something fun.
Okay, that is super cool. I love it. Okay, my something cool is something I actually posted in our fun channel on Slack a couple of weeks ago, but I don't think I had enough time to talk about it yet. But I kind of, obviously I thought this was cool. So this is a survey of data science and tools for kind of for Kaggle. And, we've talked about Stack Overflow, the Stack Overflow developer surveys before. So this is kind of the moral equivalent, but for data scientists. And, I'm not a data scientist. I don't even play one on TV, but I work with a lot of data scientists. And,
I know data scientists.
Yeah. Some of my best friends are data scientists. Sorry. Anyway, but so I thought this was cool. So, Kaggle, for people that might not know it, is at least I know it as a kind of an educational site, and that runs basically competitions for data science problems. So, and companies can sponsor these, and IBM or IEEE or companies or organizations will come in and say, hey, here's a challenge. Lots of people will submit, and they'll have basically a winning algorithm, and it it's pretty cool. It's cool to watch. I've never actually competed with something here. Like I said, I'm not a data scientist, but I've looked at results, and I've looked at and kind of monitored some of these, which is very fun. Anyway, it's kind of a cool little small spot of the web. But anyway, so this is I'm sure biased. So because this is a survey of Kaggle users and about them. So kind of like how Stack Overflow is a survey of developers. This is a survey of Kaggle users, but it's still kind of interesting to look through and especially kind of compare a little bit year over year, because they've evidently done this before. This is the first year I've noticed this, but anyway, so some cool facts about this, or maybe I shouldn't say cool facts, some facts at least. So, for example, data science continues to have a heavy gender imbalance, with most identifying as male. I guess that shouldn't surprise me. Doesn't seem to be the case in our world, but that is...
I was going to say, most of the data scientists I know do not fit in that category. Definitely not that ratio.
Yeah, but maybe we're just fortunate. The majority of data scientists are under 35 years old, and over half of data scientists have graduate degrees. So, okay, good. I think a lot of people who are quote unquote data scientists over 35 years old are would have known it by a different name.
Expert systems. Yeah.
As
I look over at my book from college called Expert Systems on my shelf.
Exactly. Or statistics exactly.
Yeah.
So let's see. Education and employment. Most data scientists have been coding for less than a decade. More than half of data scientists have less than 3 years of experience with machine learning. It's a new and burgeoning field. And I'm sure it would come as no surprise that data scientists in the United States make substantially more money than their international counterparts. Let's see. This was one of the things that I thought was I wouldn't have guessed. Scikit-learn. Okay, I know it's a popular framework, but it says it's the most popular machine learning tool in 2020 with over 4 out of 5 data scientists using it. 4 out of 5. Dentists, can't be wrong. No, the 4 out of 5 it's high. Anyway, So let me see. So I'm just going to scroll through and just a couple other things. The first of which is that India is the country that with the most representatives of, at least on Kaggle, with almost 22% of the respondents are from India. The U.S. is second at 14.5%, and then Brazil is kind of a distant third at under 5%. So that's interesting. 51.1% of people claiming to be data scientists have a master's degree. So that's interesting. I think that's, it's certainly pretty common in my experience. But 17% have a doctoral degree as well, and 24% for a bachelor's. So that's quite extensive. Let's see. I thought there was one other thing. Just under 2% of data scientists claim to have never written code at all. So flip that around, 98% of data scientists are, I'm not sure they would consider themselves developers, but they are writing code. And let's see, I thought there was a language thing in here. Let's see, tooling wise, Jupyter, the most popular at 74%. VS Code with 33%. That's interesting. I tried to use VS Code for some notebooks just the other week, and it was definitely not as nice as Jupyter, but I mean, it could be that I just, the first time you load something up, it isn't great.
Right.
Let's see, there's the scikit-learn, 48% using AWS with 35% using GCP and 29% using Azure. It's kind of surprising in this particular case. GCP's got an edge, probably because of, Google's machine learning bias and machine learning focus. And then, let's see, SageMaker. I thought there was a database usage. Everybody's using MySQL. And I thought that I had seen a language in here, but I didn't. So maybe ignore that part. But anyway, I just thought this was kind of cool. Kind of, these sorts of surveys kind of help kind of highlight, especially if you look year over year, what's the framework that's growing? What's the framework that, is, really popular? Frameworks that are popular, things that are really, are getting traction this is a great way to kind of keep on top of those sorts of things. So anyway, that's my something fun.
Cool. I had not seen that. That was interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, man.
All right, dude.
Well, have a safe drive. Don't get caught in the snow.
That's the plan. Yeah.
Yep.
I have changed just in case.
Yep. And everybody stay patient. Just a few more months. The vaccines are coming. So be safe. Be well.
All righty.
All right.
Have a good night, John.
Talk to you later, Eric. Bye.
Bye.